The new Apple iPhone 14 Pro has finally been announced, and it is without a doubt going to be Apple's biggest selling product of 2022. However, there are some issues with Apple's new flagship smartphone that you should probably know about. Apple could have quite easily have taken the lead in the smartphone race and jumped ahead of its closest competitor, Samsung. But in my opinion, they've really dropped the ball with this one. So here are 5 problems that I have found with the new iPhone 14 Pro that I think you should be aware of. The dynamic island. Apple's latest feature this year is a dynamic island which appears at the top of your screen, which allows you to see what you're doing, i.e. playing music, maps, countdowns, timers, notifications. Any app that is compatible with this new dynamic island feature you can utilize at the top of your screen. However, the issue with it is that it's become it looks like more of a gimmick, because it's only really compatible with a few apps at the moment. I'm sure that will expand over time, but it's still there when you're watching content. When you're watching content, you're now left with this long black pill-shaped black feature at the top of your screen. Now, the dynamic island would have been a good feature if it would have disappeared and you would just been left with a little black spot where the camera is while you're watching content or playing games. But Apple haven't done this. You're still left with this big black object at the top of your screen. Now, I don't know why they have done this. Samsung and other smartphones have adopted a minimalistic look where you just have the camera, which is a tiny little black spot at the top of your screen, and when you're watching content or playing games or anything like that, you have the maximum amount of screen. I understand why Apple have done it, but the problem is it actually takes up more space, because on the iPhone 13 you had the cutout which just took up a large portion of the top, and now on the iPhone 14 you have the pill shape, which is dropped down slightly, which gives you a tiny little bit of extra screen at the top, but you're not really going to utilize that for anything. It's just kind of wasted space, so I don't really know why they've done it. So maybe a feature for next year, Apple, if you're going to put the dynamic island in, make it disappear when people are watching content or playing games, and then I think it will be a good feature. No SD card slot. Now, when Apple removed a headphone jack from its iPhones a few years ago, it was a big topic of conversation, and there was a little bit of controversy around it, and it annoyed a lot of people because you can't plug in your headphones and listen to music, and it forces you to use wireless headphones. Now, with that, I understand why Apple did it, because they are trying to transition and future-proof their phones into wireless headphone technology, which, to be honest, most people are using nowadays. So it was a means to an end. With the lack of an SD card slot, I don't really understand it. Now, the logic could be argued that they are using it because they want you to utilize more cloud-based services and upload all your photos to the cloud and then delete them from your phone, so you have the most amount of space. However, the option for photographers, videographers, and anyone that wants to store content is it's very annoying, because if you want to download videos or content to watch offline when you're on the tube or traveling on an airplane, for example, it limits your amount of space that you can use for that, and it is frustrating because you can't really swap out your memory cards, which allows you to maximize the amount of content and videos and photos that you can have on your phone. So I don't get why Apple have done this. The lightning port. Why oh why are Apple still using a lightning port on modern phones in 2022? Even their iPads are now using the USB Type-C. So I don't understand that with the brand new iPhone 14 and 14 Pro, they are still using a lightning port. It's slower to charge, it's less compatible with other devices. I just don't understand why they've done it. Maybe in the new iPhone 15 we'll finally get a C charger. Bezel size. Now, while Apple have dramatically reduced the bezel size on their iPhone 14 and 14 Pro compared to last year's model, it's still not that completely flush and clean look that goes right to the edge like other devices are doing. And to be honest, this is something they could have easily rectified. All they had to do was make the screen completely the same size and it would have been brilliant. So it's a simple one, but it's an irritating one. Camera features. Now this year we get a brand new 48 megapixel camera on the iPhone 14 Pro, and it is a brilliant camera, and it still produces excellent camera quality, which is very comparable to the Samsung S22 Ultras. And when you compare them side by side, there isn't much really in it, and it's really a subjective test on which one you prefer. However, the issue here is that Apple have only gone up to a 3x zoom, whereas Samsung still have a 10x zoom, and Samsung still have that 100x space zoom, which the iPhone is sorely missing out on. Now, yes, the 100x space zoom on the Samsung is more of a little gimmicky feature than anything else. You're not really going to use it, but it is still a much more usable feature than Apple have. So I don't know why they didn't upgrade this. It could have been a lot better, but here we are. But it's still an excellent quality camera, still a much bigger upgrade than last year, and the quality is much better. And when you look at the cinematic mode, you now get up to 4K at 30 frames per second, whereas last year you was limited to 1080p. So that's a worthy upgrade, and the edge detection on the cinematic mode is much better than the Samsung's, and it looks a lot better and a bigger upgrade over last year, and that is going to be a big thing for content creators. And to be honest, it is a very usable image, it's a very good quality image, so I'm glad they've done that. So that's my top 5 issues with the new Apple iPhone 14 Pro. If you want to know which phone you should buy this year, then look at this video up here, and don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you next time.